Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Rough roads ahead. Well, I had this urge to go out. And God said, well, why don't you honor it and let's see where it takes us. So as soon as I pulled out, it's like, well, maybe you want to look around in that community where that young girl was running from. I said, no, Deep State, that's not something I want to do. Thank you. They can make up a story. Thank you, Larry. That's a nice Mini. Which model is that? Nice coloring there. Interesting. So when I speak about what they're doing, some is hypothesis. And again, you could have 2 or 3 hypotheses till you narrow it down to one. Although, as I told you in Spycraft, there are several things they're attempting to effectuate in that particular technology. It's a technology. It's a very advanced psychological technology of psychological manipulation, sexual manipulation. Again, spies are the most dangerous people on earth anywhere doing anything. you have to get to that. Trying to do the car wash thing here. Was going to cancel it, but I just decreased the number of watches. Well, I can't remember whether I had that scratch on my windshield before the car wash here or after. But it definitely appeared that there was a buildup on the windshield that may have caused it, some sort of wax that they're using. Thank you, Larry. And that buildup is since gone. The rain washed it away and everything. So, and I even scrub padded it initially. So there's all these mechanisms that they use. So one of the things they did was make it appear that I was looking at porn related to the people that were there in my daytime. Now, that might be possible, like isolated, but most likely not. But I noticed I was being manipulated. So if I looked at transgender porn, I could still do the same work, and actually additional work came up. Because nobody around me was transgender. Now, if I went to a transgender community, I would have to look at straight porn to do the same work. So when black males increased in the world around me, the manipulation was to move to black gay porn. That's like their fantasy. You know what their fantasy really is? For me to be a bottom, a very, what do they call that? When somebody's very sexual and they just don't care. Very sexually risky. White bottom with black male, with extremely endowed black male. Gay black males. That's really what they want. That's what your system, praise Jesus, is operating. Or law enforcement morality. Or this proves he's a rapist. No, if he's a bottom, it doesn't prove he's a rapist. It's probably the reverse. But again, I'm heterosexual. I want to be with a woman. I want to be married. and I want to go to church. But there is no church. So the only church that really exists is me walking around that I can find. Nobody else will tell the truth. If it's not the truth, then it's not the church, right? Whatever your reasons for that are. So if I were to move to San Francisco, I'd have to look at straight porn to beat them at it, but then watch their manipulations. Right? In fact, like I said, they would bring up it was like twisting the mind. They would bring up transgender porn with the face of the person that I had interaction with. And then, like, people I had interaction with had kids. I didn't know that. But they would show up with the kid. They're like, I gotcha. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm one of the greatest mentors on the planet. No, it's not a delusion or illusion. Thank you, Larry. I could tell them the truth. You're afraid to, all of you. You know, I think my children actually knew more of the truth than I did at 10 and 12 years old at that time, based upon what I perceived they were saying, that I didn't understand what they were saying. Like any husband, I had no clue what my wife was saying, so that was normal, right? Now, they operated my wife. To her credit, at this point, that's the sum and summation. Well, because at that point, what they try to do is try to split hairs. Like, oh, the operation is one thing, and that's another thing. Again, you can't trust a single one of them, and no, they're not trying to make the world safe. They're actually trying to make it unsafe to increase their ability to manipulate the fraud, the racket, the Ponzi scheme, etc. Thank you, Larry. Thank you. So again, I owe trans people anyway for their faith in healing that was exhibited while I was in Indianapolis, and they were in the Philippines and Malaysia, I think. So again, working their porn to see if there's some sort of thing wrong. Again, I'm not the type. I'm from the law enforcement that doesn't want you to commit crime. We want you to find Jesus or whatever it is in your life that gives you a better life and makes you not commit crime, which is what they kind of use sometimes, because if I'm around you and you're committing crimes, you probably feel a little nervous. But that's the way old Justice Department used to work. We didn't want you to feel comfortable with crime. We wanted you to think twice and get somewhere. Right. Now they make you feel beautiful and actually get you to commit crimes for them and then look the other way. That's a scam, because one day you'll commit a crime and get arrested because you believe you're invincible. Again, that's what happened in the life of Derek Chauvin and other officers. So there's people that don't like me generally because they're doing something wrong and they feel guilty. And I'm not a stickler, and we're not a stickler. You know, we understand that life is full of all sorts of difficulties and failures and things such as that. So, you know, there's a chance that you would have an issue. And again, we believe in looking. Again, they don't prosecute every case, 100%. But again, you're not supposed to not prosecute every case just to play a racket. Again, that's where we are now. They don't prosecute every case, but they're prosecuting cases generally based upon a racket. Although not everybody's always in. There's always what they consider a rogue office, but it's not. It's actually the real office. In other words, the people in the Justice Department consider me rogue, but I'm not rogue. I'm actually the Justice Department. They're rogue, 100%. And there's people out there like that. Like if I was awake, that this wouldn't happen. There is a possibility to stay in the Justice Department and have a good life and not be, rogue, 100%. But it's few and far between. You have to be absolutely awake. But then again, they drugged me, so I don't know where that would have. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't have worked, because my life, when you're awakened, and again, I'm not always awakened because my security lapses. your security doesn't lapse. Like a lot of these people, they just naturally move into an apartment complex because they were able to get there based upon the queues. And it's got the proper security, it's got the proper neighbors, that kind of thing. I'm not saying I don't mind living. Again, the place I was looking at living, it was probably going to be a little bit of work for me to live there. I'd have to win the people over. I'd probably have to heal a lot of people. I'd probably have to help the police and the fire people. Throughout my stay there, I would be in the right place at the right time to answer some of their questions or show them where something is or whatever it is. And it's not like, oh, I'm snitching on everything, but we don't want. I lived in a building in Santa Fe that they would break down the door, literally. They pull on it to get it open. I mean, they were breaking it to get to the meth dealer. They lived upstairs. To my knowledge, he's still not even arrested. But he was big enough that there were so many people that they broke our doors down getting into the meth dealer. And then they would come out and try to steal stuff from our cars so they can go back in and buy more meth. Thanks, Larry. We ran that guy out. And again, the office cooperated and we got him out of there. You have to make complaints about him for him to be gone. Right. And we watched him and all of that. Then there was there were cars being parked in our parking lot that were stolen. I used to work with cops all the time, but I'm not there picking on the narcotics addict, trying to throw them in prison, or the gay person for being gay or just being, a lowly user of narcotics while taking money from the narcotics distributors themselves. That's really what goes on. I mean, I would like to say, like, if I was in the Marshal Service, I would have gotten medals over the years for all the work I did. Or at least I would have been noticed, deputy so-and-so helping so-and-so, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't have, because they're liars. It's a scam. You have to be a piece of shit to get a medal. You have to get a piece of shit. You'd be a piece of shit to be noticed. That's what came up. Like, tweet that. Say all the things that you've done that you would have gotten a medal if you were in the Marshal. Of course, it was God, right? And I'm like, but I wouldn't have. And God says, see? That's what happened in your career. Same thing. Attacking you for going to church. Because they were trained in assassination. And they know not to let their victim go to church. But yet, to effectuate that, the church had to take the mark of the beast and sell out. Thank you. So I'm since COVID, it's become less. But yeah, when I was in where was that? Tyler, they kept throwing this kid at me, or he was just like it. I don't know. I surmise that the parents were very poor, so they were probably paying him something to operate, because they acted strange around at a certain point. But I was just taking my walks and saying hi. At first, I was interested in his mother, I do admit, because that's really where it starts. And again, I want conversation with a woman. When I say interested, they put it in their perspective that I want to have sex with her as soon as possible. No, I want to have a conversation with a woman. Unfortunately, she had a guy, but she had a son who she was divorced, and the father had been Christian. He actually said, I couldn't tell if he was actually them or not, because one day he's like, we had a conversation. He's like, you mean the FBI? The FBI is always doing bad things. And I don't know if they told him to say that or what. It's just the FBI came. I don't know if he heard my podcast or what. But it was very short. We discussed a few things, and I noticed that they were trying to drive sexuality towards children. I mean, I'm an investigator. I'm aware. I'm awake at this point. 100%. But I'm still going to be who I'm supposed to be. The kid needed a phone. I had a spare phone that was sitting. I kind of actually needed it after I gave it to him. And Satan's like, see, you shouldn't help people. I'm like, go away, Satan. So I gave him the phone, and that was that. I mean, I pretty much moved out COVID. I said to the boyfriend, I said, "You got a great family with you. You got the kid, the woman, the great people. You're very lucky." And I moved off to Tyler or to Tyler, the other place, Studio 6, but nothing happened. Was the inference coming at me to be sexual? Of course. Would I have seen that if I wasn't psychic? Probably not. Regular. Did it come from law enforcement officers? Yes. Sickos. Major sickos. And they arrest pedophiles all the time and laugh. Why? They're not testing people on the view. They're creating pedophiles. A woman that was single that I could have been interested in, they moved out right away. Had no way of getting out of there until I did that. And then she was in one of those positions where she couldn't get out of the extended stay. As soon as her and I got a little interested, boom, they moved her right out. And then that kid picked up. So again, it's many-fold what they're doing. It's like, well, what do you mean they presented somebody and you were attracted? And because they've been doing this their whole life. They know they attract men to children, and they're incredulous. They can't stand it that I won't go out and be it for them. In fact, I have evidence that they are criminal in that way and other ways. You not doing this to me is bullshit. If you can't be honest with yourself, then you're a bigger freak than you really than we thought you were. At least be honest with yourselves and get away from it. At least do that much for the world that you fucked. God, I wish I was in my apartment in Olathe. Actually, there was a couple. Again, the safety considerations themselves are your fault. I shouldn't have to be this secure. Before they really got busy with it, I was totally safe and secure everywhere because this guy's former government. But they come in and say, well, no, he's really a criminal. Worst criminal we've ever seen. In fact, everything that's going on wrong here now is probably his fault. Not our fault for taking money. That's really where they are in their minds. Thank you, friend. I'm just out for a drive. I don't think there's anywhere I want to go. A lot of people are out. Day before the work week. I guess some people are off tomorrow. So again, you have to understand, me trying to get into an apartment has nothing to do with my record or who I really am. It's organized crime keeping me out of an apartment. I don't care who you all are. You're organized crime, racketeering, extortion, and worse. But you also have to understand that's a form of depletion. They get their snitches where I live to make the place where I'm living uninhabitable, like, emotionally, psychologically, metaphysically. 100%. And then block me from moving anywhere. And it's probably designed to make me homeless. So again, all the homeless veterans that have checks, they did it. Don't let them tell you that they're crooks. They hate them because they're better than they are at everything. They're the real bigs. Where they're nobodies but Satan and worse. I should say Satan's butt and worse. So again, that Twitter what do they call it? Algorithm appeared to be moving me in those directions that the other locations were moving me previously, while law enforcement and members of the community, such as that ghost secret society in Santa Fe, were operating me. However, it's not only that organization. Don't think it's only 3 kids. Again, it's the police department. Hey, look, it does say field supervisor on the side of the white vehicle. I was right. I didn't know it was. I didn't know it said that. I just thought the white vehicle looked like it was the supervisor. Supervisor? All right, I'm trying to do something here. Okay, it's on. Why is my screen so dull? Not that I'm looking over that much at it. Just trying to figure it out. I guess I'm not going to be able to. I wonder if they hacked that. There's no adjustment to make it brighter. They do stuff like that. When they hack, they make your screen dull, and then you can't. And then they erase the control to brighten it. They can do it. Now, when I say that, they do it physically, but they can do it metaphysically, and then also physically. Oh, I wanted to go in the other entrance. Darn it. Iris. Which means they steal stuff from you metaphysically. Right now, they stole everything into my storage unit because I'm past the date of moving into my apartment. I have no use for the things in my storage unit. Therefore, I paid all that money and I don't get use out of it. So they do get, you have to understand, you do get, I guess, judged for that. You all are stealing things from you. When you cause me to have to throw something away just to get away from somewhere, to get well somewhere, that means you stole my stuff. Again, sometimes they say stole your life away. That's like a seeing term. You know, this lady healed. Now, she's not in a wheelchair, but when I saw her, she was in a wheelchair. So I have to heal her. I don't have to heal her. Again, I do this by choice. Don't let them tell you that I'm doing penance or something like that. 100%. I mean, they're psychotic. Their spirituality is psychotic, narcissistic, and worse. Okay, love, license plate. That's kind of weird. Remember, when somebody's drugged and operated, it takes on a different appearance, especially somebody that's not used to it. Again, if Jonathan Luna could have pushed past the drugging a little further, and again, he may have been murdered. He may have but the drugging caused him to have his life out of control enough where they could kill him. But if he would have pushed further, eventually his mind would have rewired around it. You still get sick from it, but you're able to push past it. And it's easier and easier as time goes on. Because not only I don't know if it's a tolerance factor because they they increase and decrease what they're using based upon your exposure to it. Again, if you cause my apartment for me to have to wait for a week in my apartment, oh yeah, you could put listening devices deep in the vents. But then again, you could put it in another apartment and probably still hear me. However, they could wipe stuff on everything in my apartment, and it could take me 6 months to actually have it removed enough to be well. Like people come down with strange illnesses. That's what it is sometimes. Sure. So I know that's how they gave Betty Ann cancer. She's not a bad person in law enforcement. At least back in the academy, she wasn't. And she had been in quite a while. But see, that's what fears the people in power. Well, Betty Ann wouldn't do what they say, and she got cancer. Now, sometimes it's just an illusion. Spycraft, they'll do that, make you afraid that the person that died is because they wouldn't listen. And could be. Yeah, they say it's all 9/11 death, and it's nice because they get money for it. I think there's a fund for that. But it could have been just an excuse to kill officers they wanted to kill that they considered loose ends. Remember to stay hydrated. I mean, you don't believe it, but God may have created every trail in Olathe Park for me to be there, be healthy, and ride my bicycle and walk. And you're blocking me from it. Me, no one else. That's a reality. Now, it could be other people, but there's always a possibility. And you all get used to it. You see it everywhere on the planet. The CIA people that are honest will tell you that things were obviously created, at least in part, for me to do my work, or something I healed I should have been able to take part of that I did, like the market and everything else. But you all received tons of money, health, and life off of what either God did without me doing anything because He wanted to provide it to me, or it was some of the spiritual work that I engaged in. All right, I got to pull over here and look. Set up for an accident. Was able to cut the wheel. All right, I got to turn this up brighter. I got to figure this out. There it is. So again, it was probably just a metaphysical hack. See, the Q is mind hack. Or life hack, even, too. Well, you got to understand, they're hacking your mind. They're blinding your mind is a hack. They tried to launch an OWE at me by going, in the head, making me believe somebody just was agreeing with me, going, oh. It was an OWE, so curse that person and remove that spell and curse. All right, I said something that it's all spells. That may not be, you may not be intelligent enough to understand that statement. Spells include curses, will, invocations, incantations. All those cutesy sayings they use in law enforcement in the church are actually spells and incantations. I mean, if your heart isn't to do it, you may repeat it, but you're not going to use it for, it's just obvious you're not using it for that generally if you're not. But again, they do have incantations. And that's why they make like leads and all that off of the lies and fabrications to get it forward of the community that generated it, because obviously the people are not anybody to take a statement from. And again, if somebody's being victimized for real, that's one thing. So, and obviously what's happening in my life is another. Again, Jussie Smollett isn't really that bad because he didn't say it was anybody. He just said they did this. Maybe he said he had a MAGA hat. I don't even remember exactly what he said. But my goodness, he didn't say that person over there. So when Smollett came along, I'm like, it's nothing. These people run around here going, it's that person over there, because they were paid by officers to do it, or the drug dealer that works with the officer. But they get it forward and they bring additional people in to cast spells. What they're looking for is like Slickster and Little Girl. They're devils. And they have the capability to project spells. So if they send the lead to the next community, they're hoping one of the demonic officers receives the blip and they start casting spells. That's really what's going on. The rest is illusion. Whether you believe in religion or not, the spells exist. You're not going to take some sub-ignorant existence and tell me that it's God on earth in the name of not worshiping God or freedom of religion or whatever bullshit you're all into. Because when you touch it, all of you, it's bullshit. All right, now which way are you all going? You're going to cross this pedestrians or are you going in? It's almost like a setup. They're going to jump into the road, and fall on the ground. That doesn't succeed as much as it used to. Because now they got cameras. People are a little nervous. they actually grew up like this. You grew up with people that were devils, and they were in your school, and then all of a sudden a girl would get raped, or the guys would have a, what do they call that? Not a menage a trois, even a menage a trois, or a gang rape scenario, and it was them that caused it. They were jealous of the girl. We get the girl hooked to drugs, hooked to prostitution, hooked to being raped. And they're the ones that will it. And they're still there today in government, acting like they're the salvation of people. So you grew up with devils, and every child that died in your school was because one of the other children cursed them. There was something happening to me in 5th grade with this girl, and I was looking at her like, what the fuck is that? I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, and she's like looking at me, going, "You mother," almost pretty much, "You motherfucker." I don't know what she was saying. I'm like, it's like all shitty faced, and I'm like, little girl. And I do famously with girls. My neighbors loved me. I was a great guy for them. We never had sex. I mean, I think the one wanted sex, and thank God we didn't. I don't think it was something we should have done. I mean, unless we were going to date, and I just wasn't attracted that way. 100%. No, there was girls around me everywhere. It just, some were like my sisters, right? And then the ones that I tried to date, it wouldn't work, but that's because they were probably like attractive, and they were probably had other guys that were away whammying the thing, and whether they knew I was involved, were going to get involved with them, because I never knew if you saw something it was real or could be real. I didn't know any of that. But now I know why they looked at me so strange. I was pretty much Fatty Miller. It was once. Jen, what was Jen's name? She's a redhead. Tall. She was taller. See, they'd have to shift me, because when I grew up, okay, you date a woman that's about your height. The first guy what's his name? What was that guy's name? Chuck or something? He said, non-commissioned officer in 101st, I think it was. I know it was Fort Riley. It was Fort Riley, I think. Was it Fort Riley? 101st? I can't remember. He was in housing. I can't remember. I think it was somewhere. And Snyder was his name. Last name is Sergeant Snyder. So he's short, and his wife's like a model, like a model. I mean, nowadays that means anything, but back in the old day, she was really cool too. It was really, and he was cool too. And I was like the first relationship. I'm like, that's weird. She's like twice his height. But like when I grew up, it's like, okay, you date somebody that's 2 years older or 2 years younger. So this is where the government started in my life. Now I should be looking for somebody that's 2 years older or 2 years younger, somebody about my height. Albeit, whatever it says on my wife's birth certificate, it's one that she was born in Korea, she was orphaned, and it was they just gave her the date she was in court, which she was already like 10 or 15 or something. So my wife's actually, I believe she's actually about a year older than me. My ex-wife. That's what I think. A year or two. That's what I think it is. I think we calculated it out one day. What we believe she's a year or two older. But we're both like generally the same age. What's that? Thank you, Larry. So I married an orphan in Korea. She was just a bad life, very bad life. And she had committed suicide. I mean, I was like feeling sorry for her. I mean, other guys were like, let me get away from her. Idiot me, right? No, she was a good, when we got married, she cooked like crazy and all. I mean, it was great stuff, but she let it get the best of her, and she started destroying me. If I didn't do anything, it was to keep her from going to prison. And I God bless, I hope she never kills anybody with a knife. Maybe after I left, it woke her up and she stopped taking those knives out. But I had to defend against knives. And I don't know if she was working an angle telling the neighbors that I was doing something, because it came up later. She said in my investigation, they asked, did your husband abuse you or anything? And she said, I said, no. And she looked at me. I'm like, I don't abuse you. But what she does, she attacks me with knives and I have to defend. I mean, If it wasn't me, she could have killed the guy. Right. See, I was blessed by God, so she couldn't kill me. So again, it was a construct that worked at least to get her out of where she was and into some better life. I maybe should have left earlier, only because, again, I stayed because of the children. And of course, the government knew that. So the government made it something to be the opposite. You have to leave because of the children. Yeah. When I say the government, it includes drug dealers and sex traffickers and everything else. 100%. And Putin. Let's call Putin. Let's all call Putin today. You're okay. CIA has you. You'll be up soon. Meanwhile, all the CIA people are telling, we can do Larry next and destroy him. You got CIA people here trying to destroy your community, all of it, and keep the healer out. That's why Jesus cursed them from the Bible. NCI contractor, that type of thing. That work with narcotics distributors and everything else. That's probably the go-between. Okay. Well, I don't feel like sitting in my room. That's the only reason I'm driving around. I mean, if I had an apartment, I'd probably feel like sitting in it. There's nothing I have to change, really. I don't. I mean, shut up about what you're doing real time after you've done it for at least 30 years. I mean, that's insane, all of you. That's the way it is? Well, fuck you, too. You just said fuck you to me. So they came into your office and said, this is what we're going to do. They said, let's go fuck Larry. This is how we're going to fuck him. That's what they said. There's nothing else that they're actually doing. I mean, fucking including trying to kill me. That's reality. I don't want to hear bullshit. Mr. and Mrs. Important Officer. So Ag Lab, there's just too many privatized plates. I mean, compared to when I first moved in. So then you would say, is this a criminal enterprise? What are they doing to our community? And most likely, if they're here, then the surreptitious drugging is here. Regular. And then, of course, they start shooting each other. Shooting other people. Regular. Thank you, friend. Like I said, you're not going to live in my head for free, all of you. Never have. You're not living here now for free, and you will never live there for free. Thank you much. See how they reverse that? If you talk about them, they're living there for free because they don't want you to talk about them because you're actually taking them down. Thanks, Larry. I'm actually trying to go up here. It's where I should have been looking at. Did I get to that? No, I didn't go in there. That's where it is, right? I know where I was supposed to be driving to now. Thank you. So again, me trying to get to an apartment, that's not supposed to happen. That wastes your life trying to get to an apartment. I should stay in one place, even if it's the shittiest place in the world to live. And all my neighbors are you. So again, they're always full of shit. Even when you think it doesn't matter, they're full of shit and they're operating something demonic. So all those people we arrested in Baltimore, when they were kids, they cursed them to be criminals. So when they were like 18, we arrested them. Some 15. And they were psychologically operating them and their family with known techniques that cause them to act out in violence and crime. That's really what's going on. The rest is illusion. They'll make you think, well, if we do this, crime went down. Crime went down. When they're actually doing it because crime went down. They're trying to increase crime. And then within a couple of years, crime increases. We got to go back to doing that again. Scam. No, it's not bail reform. So in New York and in LA, they're trying to get rid of unhoused people by rehousing them. But if you're responsible for any unhoused program, now I don't want to hear that the person doesn't deserve housing. That's bullshit, and you all know it. You're the ones, by your own standard, you all don't deserve housing. And that's what will happen in hell to all of you. Because you're actually the ones doing what you say the others are doing. And if the others are doing it, you're the impetus for it. You're the spycraft impetus. Well, spycraft and witchcraft impetus. There we go. So 0 credit. Until the bullshit stops to unhouse people everywhere, 0 credit for rehousing. Isn't that a neat scam? They're wonderful rehousing people while being part of an unhousing program. Only certain people. Yeah, right. I'm trying to figure out if I'm driving in the right direction. There's the Parkway. Let me go a little bit further this. Oh, there it is. Hey, I'm going the right direction. Almost made me make my turn. So that's what I did last time. I made the turn there before I got here. So again, when you're in law enforcement, if they have the capability to make me turn before I would get like 20 feet past the turn and see the target sign and get the target, then they have the capability for you to drive in the wrong direction when you're looking for a murderer or a rapist or whatever. You ever see that where you go this way and they go that way? You know, it looks comical almost. Well, the devils you work with do that. Trumpty Dumpty is just one of many criminals that have invaded our government space. But what's the statute of limitations on that one thing? What is it? Doug Ducey. Again, you know, Doug Ducey's walking around and he's speaking about it. Well, they don't know where Doug Ducey is with it. Well, they didn't. Maybe they know now. I mean, just because Doug Ducey says it happened or they believe it happened, they can watch Doug Ducey for a while to see if he was part of something. And then at a certain point, when they feel comfortable, they bring him in and then take his statement and balance it off the information they already have. Right. That builds a stronger foundation. Why spend time talking to Ducey as the informant or as the, what do they call it, immunity, as receiving immunity when he's lying? Because then that ruins your case, and your case is. Right. So that's where Trump is with, I think one of them, he's trying to discredit something, and that will kind of discredit the cases. The fact that he was showing a, what do they call that? A map of a golf course. What would it mean if he did that? Well, the charge, that particular charge would not be valid. Well, it doesn't exonerate him. You know, the bravado claim doesn't exonerate him from having those documents and possibly, having that intention to do that. Right. I believe it was probably something classified there, but right. But if it wasn't classified, then it's still a little bit of mens rea there. Right. Well, we can see Trump doing that. But there's questions because when he was doing that excited utterance thing, that didn't come up. Again, he went through a series of excited utterances. 100%. And that wasn't one of them. So like 2 years later, we're sitting here with bravado. But of course, he said 3 or 4 other things. Thank you, friend. Oh, wait, maybe I want to park on the other side. Can't remember. Right, I think it's the store I went in, and it was on the other side. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. So again, they may be actually investigating that event and Doug Ducey, and they may even actually have maybe recordings of phone calls. And they just, that timing has to be right, and they have to want to charge it. Right. Well, at this point, Doug Ducey has told several people. Sometimes that's why they wait on a case, to let the information flow different locations, track the person and track those conversations, even if they're not recorded or whatever. They know that there's witnesses now to conversations. And then they go back later and say, okay, what did Doug Ducey tell you? And bring Doug Ducey in and ask him, what did you tell that person? And you see how it all fits together. And of course, statute of limitations would be a consideration. And like I said, I don't know if Fannie, what's her last name? Prosecutor Fannie in Fulton County. I don't know if she's going to be allowed to take that to state. She could be a co-counsel or whoever she assigns. That might be a federal case. I mean, it really does sound like a federal case, but I don't know. I don't know the complete case. I don't have any information, insider or outsider information, as to what the reality of the case is. Well, because it really is a federal case. But then again, if you try everything federally and a Republican gets in there, he's gonna pardon Trump. So again, that's a big decision to make. Now, they could try him on some federal charges and some state charges. Remember, Putin is moving all his power to put Trump back in. So the idea of Trump getting back in is possible. He runs a very immense psychological warfare network to include your local police following you around. Now they'll say, well, we're just helping Trump out, but they're actually working Putin's scam that he's been scamming the United States with for a good 30 years, probably, at least. We are in post Democratic Republic United States. We are in a Soviet run United States. And yes, Large Marge is part of it. The communists that they talk about aren't the Russian Soviet communists that we fought. They're actually socialists that want social programs. That's a difference. Now, some have radicalized, and that was their goal. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do.